What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Jiu-Jitsu Radio. Before we get started, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for all the support on the podcast. I know it's been a while since I put out an episode. 2021 kicked my butt, and 2022 is actually starting off great. Just finished doing an event with Pillow Fighting Championships. I got a ton of stuff in the works, bringing back Sonder marketing to the forefront of my daily work duties. So I can't wait to get out more content for all of you. Before we get this episode started, I just want to say a big thank you to all my sponsors, 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘃𝗀𝘆, Jiu-Jitsu Soap Co., and AJG Fight. I just want to say thank you for all the support. If you guys are interested in getting the hookup from any one of our sponsors, check out the description below or wait until the end of the video for more information on how you can use promo codes to get a special discount on any one of their products. Now, before I start this episode, I just want to give you a heads up. There were some audio issues that we had to deal with because of the connection. My guest today took the time out of his busy work schedule, so we had to do it just kind of on the fly. It was a very last minute kind of podcast. I did my best I could to clean up the audio. I understand some of these sections might be a little bit tough, but just tough it out because some of the information is really, really important, and it's something that I feel strongly about, that we really need to get the message out there when it comes to MMA, not only in Florida, but around the country and around the globe, to really give the fighters the best future in their careers when it comes to MMA. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and don't forget to join me weekly on Twitch for some awesome gaming. Got friends from all over the world that join me. Just go to twitch.tv/𝗏𝗏𝘃𝗀𝘃. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Catch you on the next one. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I am excited to have a Marine vet, MMA striking coach, Coach Vern. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for your service. Let me start off with that, but thank you for taking the time to jump in on.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me today. I'm excited to be on your show, and I look forward to a good discussion. And this is what I love to do. That's what we do.
So let's kind of give a background first on who you are first, just to get that out of the way so people know your background, who you are, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the real point of the conversation. So just kind of give me your background, like where you're from, where you got started, how you got into martial arts, everything.
Absolutely. I'm originally from Clovis, New Mexico. I started boxing whenever I was a kid. Everybody's got the story about how they were into a boxer. I really was. That's where I started. Fought for a few years as a teenager, joined the Marine Corps out of high school. After the Marine Corps, had nothing to do but get in trouble. A friend of mine said, hey, I can get you in a full contact fight. This is the early 2000s. I was nervous as all hell. Thought I was going to get the shit kicked out of me, and went in and wrecked the dude in about 23 seconds and felt like, man, this is where I belong. In the Marine Corps, the honor of being able to learn some great Muay Thai and kickboxing from an amazing crew and a great kickboxing coach. Had a chance to train with the Marine Corps boxing team for a little bit, so I mean, striking was pretty versed. Submission grappling, mixed martial arts was just kind of a love of my life from the early 2000s, and here we are 20 years later.
That's awesome. So you came in, you started coaching, and now you're training out of A1 Boxing, but your training is actually the V10 Training. That's your school, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. We Glenn Goodson runs A1 Boxing out of Aurora, Colorado. An amazing gym owner. He gives a lot of coaches an opportunity to go ahead and coach their people out of his gym. It's a large space, but we're the only mixed martial arts program out of there. So we've got a good, half cage setup, a lot of mats. We put in a lot of work, and that's where V10 is born and bred.
That's awesome. So you've been coaching now for how long?
I've been coaching in total about 15 years.
That's awesome.
Previous to this, I owned and ran Child's Play Mixed Martial Arts here in Colorado. I ran it for about 8 years, coached, and had the pleasure to work with some of the best talent that came out of Colorado. In 2017, I decided to shut it down just because I was over the politics of it. Got in a bad business deal with a coach that didn't have the same vision as I did. in 2018 at 40 years old, I came out of retirement, just boxed and started knocking out young guys again, and had a lot of my old fighters say, hey, coach, what's going on, man? Are we doing this again or what? So, we started building this again, and early of 2021, we decided to get back to work.
You can't get that fight spirit out of the Marine, huh?
Never can, man. The beautiful thing about it was my first opponent back out of retirement at 40 years old was an Army veteran, about 10 years younger than me. Put him away in 53 seconds, broke his ribs, broke a hand of his. I never wished ill will on anybody, but it was a lot of fun to go in there and know I'm still dangerous. Took another fight short notice, knocked the kid out in the second round, fought on a military card, dubbed Army versus Marines, put the kid away in the third round, knocked him out cold. That's a great fight. If anybody wants to look it up, Vern Earwood versus Jack Willoughby, you'll have fun watching it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look it up. You might want to try bringing the phone a little bit closer, just because the mic does keep on cutting out. But I think you'll be all right. So, with that out of the way, I think we can safely say that no one's gonna sit there and question your amount of time coaching, fighting. Like, you've been around the block. You've basically seen it all, just like any one of us that have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the game for a long time, and even in the time that I took off, from coaching 2017 to 2021, not a whole lot in the game changed. Different technique, new toys for people to play with, different type of bag, everything else. But at the end of the day, it's mixed martial. Promotions are put on to provide a platform for young fighters that are involved in combat sports. It's no different than boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I've definitely been in the game for a few years, you can say that.
Yeah. So now the reason why we connected and I reached out to you is you coached a fighter by the name of Jack Willoughby at the last Rize FC fight down here in South Florida. Was it January 22nd? And I've only been able to see just kind of everything that was being posted in regards to the event leading up to it. There was a couple of things that I saw in regards to the promotion, just kind of like screwing over fighters and stuff. But then when I started seeing your posts in regards to the conditions of the back, just in the training and everything, or the prepping rather, for the fighters, it kind of just sparked my interest, because it looked like it's very easy to see one person complaining about a promotion and saying like, oh, that's just someone that maybe was just, ill prepared or wasn't ready to go show out. It might have been their first rodeo, but that's not the case here. It became a thing where it's several people had complaints, had text messages that they were posting up showing how they were getting treated by Rize FC. So I don't want to sit there and be like partial. I try to be as impartial as possible. So I just want to get from your point of view and your experience, just kind of fill me in really on the details and put the pieces together for me. What happened leading up to the fight? Because I know that there was issues with, Jack having to do a catch weight, and then like the opponent was like way more heavier than he was, and then things that happened backstage. So just kind of fill me in on what actually happened.
Well, it was some of the craziest experience I've had in the 20 years that I've been involved in mixed martial arts. It started, with the weigh-ins. That day, communication leading up to that was fair. I'm an impartial coach. I'm non-biased about anybody. I hear there's a lot of concerns with some of the promotions down there in the southern Florida area. But I went out there, with a non-biased opinion. I've never heard of Rize FC until Jack agreed to this fight. Jack previously was an independent fighter. He agreed to it. So now that he's with our gym, I'm not going to leave a fighter hanging. I decided to go ahead and buy a ticket. We had another fighter that was supposed to compete on the card. He fell off the card 2 days in advance. It was supposed to be a title fight. That's unfortunate, because I feel like he would be sitting here with a title also. It just worked. But getting out there today, and we checked in. Things seemed like they were on the up and up. Problem was the commission, or not necessarily the commission, the officiating crew that was there seemed to have no control over what was happening. No type of time control. It came down to when Jack finally had enough time to weigh in. We'd been an hour and 15 minutes, almost an hour and a half. His opponent went to the promoter to say, hey, I have to leave by 6:30 and pick somebody up. So they agreed to let him weigh in. So I stopped the promoter and I said, hey, if he's weighing in, Jack's weighing in. You know, we're going to get these guys weighing at the same time. We walk in the back. The official that was there, I found out his name was John Rivera. You know, he immediately asked me, hey, so did you guys agree to a catch weight? And I said, what do you mean a catch weight? I said, the weight's right there on your paperwork. It's a 155-pound fight. You know, so Jack weighed in 155 pounds on the dot. His opponent stepped on the scale, 171.2 pounds.
Wow.
Missed weight by 16.2 pounds. And at that point, you know, Jack was, you know, a little bit heated. You know, he would be. I was too. You know, I'm going to keep my composure. I'm going to take care of my fighter. So I asked the promotion, or not the promotion, but the official. And I said, what is your guys' policy here on this? And he said, well, you know, we give the guy an hour to cut 2 pounds so that he gets under 170 pounds. And I said, well, that's still a welterweight fight. You know, I mean, we're happy to go ahead and rehydrate Jack and bring him up. We'll take it welterweight. And at that point, I thought, you know, the official was going to give him that 2 hours. Instead, they went ahead and just wrote down his weight at 171.2. He showed up the next night on weigh-ins. It was supposed to be a hydration cut. He just never tried to cut. That's what it was. He showed up on the night of weigh-ins, or the night of the fight, at 178 pounds. So he didn't put on a lot of weight, you know, which wasn't a big deal. Jack was about 164 pounds, so there's still a sizable difference. And with there not being a hydration pack, you know, as far as the kid not even trying to cut weight, now Jack had suddenly not jumped up 1 to 2 weight classes. You know, we flew out of pocket. We, you know, Jack bought his own ticket. I bought me and the rest of the team's ticket. You know, thank God we got great sponsors. You know, but I mean, outside of that, we go out there, the fight scratched, and we just flew out there for nothing.
So hold on. So let's go back. So Jack comes in at 155. Yep. There was nobody approached you guys whatsoever before you even got close to the scale saying, hey, would you guys be interested in doing a catch weight?
Not at all. Jack's opponent, actually, you know, Jack's a nice guy. Even though he's going to fight you, he's a respectful, courtesy young man, you know, very courteous. And he actually approached his opponent and said, hey, man, let's put on a great show tomorrow night. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's give the fans something to talk about. And, you know, at that point, they discussed weight, and his opponent mentioned, hey, I think I'm just a little overweight. You know, my scale doesn't work real well at home. That's all we heard.
Right.
That's all we heard until the official said, oh, so you guys agreed to a catch weight.
I mean, I can say I'm a little overweight. I'm not going to say that I'm like 16 pounds off of weight. Like that's a huge difference. I mean, I can understand it. Like maybe the opponent is sitting there is trying to cover his ass because he wants to fight. But at that point, I mean, you're talking about, and I can say this from having cornered a fighter whose opponent came in 10 pounds overweight and they just didn't even care. And that's a whole different issue. So, and I know exactly the way that stuff runs down here. I've done it plenty of times. But the fact that no one even came up to you guys and said, hey, there's a possibility, like the promoter should have come up to you and said, hey, there's a possibility that this guy isn't going to make weight. Do you guys want to do a catch weight? And was there even talk about like the purse or anything like that because of the weight?
No, there was no talk about that. Jack's an amateur fighter, so he didn't rate a purse.
Right.
But, you know, at the very least, you know, you just said it perfect. It's courtesy, it's respect to come up and say, hey, we know your opponent's going to be over. You guys want to check your weight real quick, maybe start rehydrating, you know, give us a clue before the weigh-in. But, I mean, there was just nothing. We had no clue until...
So there wasn't even anything like, hey, like, we'll just pay you guys, like, a little bit, like, just to take the fight, whatever, nothing.
Nothing. No. Hey, let us help you with your travel. No sponsorship. Nothing along the lines of let us make it worth your time. Since you were professional, you showed up on time, on weight. Your opponent was late and significantly overweight. You know, there was just no offer there. They were just happy that we were there and ready to fight. And
then, like, I mean, obviously, so who was running the actual weights themselves? Like, was it the Florida Commission or what was it?
I'm not sure really. My understanding is, I guess, the Florida Boxing Commission had control over the amateur mixed martial arts. So I'm really not sure of what the officiating body was or who they were. I heard from a commission official that amateurs and amateur promotions can hire a number of different officiating organizations. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm really unclear about that. It's confusing to me. Out here in Colorado, the Colorado Boxing Commission has full control over all combat sports, no matter what the facet is, boxing, kickboxing, MMA. They run amateurs, they run pros, they are in charge of absolutely everything. My understanding is Florida Commission has petitioned to take charge of the amateur scene, and I really think it's going to benefit them if they can control that.
Well, that'll probably kind of put a debate on, because like we definitely don't have the best commission. Like I can sit there and say that from a fact. I've seen plenty of sketchy stuff happen here and there with that. So, but I mean that's with any fight sport, right? Like stuff happens pretty much anywhere, but something is better than nothing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you expect things to happen.
Yeah.
You expect people to show up disgruntled to weigh-ins. You expect somebody to miss by a pound or two. We didn't even know that in Florida you can miss, I guess, weight up to 7 pounds as an amateur and still make the fight. You know, had that been the case, we would have brought Jack in at 160 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the worst part. I mean, Jack went in like a pro, hit the 155, dehydrated, did everything he did. Excuse me. Meanwhile, the opponent didn't really do anything. He's just going to walk up and just be whatever.
Yeah, he showed up. I mean, and that's exactly what it was. It was just kind of whatever. You know, he seemed like a decent enough kid, you know, but just, you know, he actually had the audacity to thank me and Jack after weighing in for being professional and showing up on weight. So I was like, hey, buddy, you know, appreciate it.
Hey, thanks. Like, I mean... Okay, I mean that's just kind of mind-blowing. Did the kid's coach talk to you at all?
He didn't have a coach there. He was there by himself.
By himself?
Even on fight night, I'm not sure. There was one guy in his corner, and I believe his wife or girlfriend. It was a young female. You know, in the corner. So I mean, the kid represented a gym called MMA Masters.
Yeah. No, MMA Masters is a huge gym. Like everybody knows MMA Masters. I mean, they got like pros, UFC fighters coming out there.
Yeah.
So,
that's what kind of threw me for a loop. Is the kid represented MMA Masters. That's what they announced him out of. But he didn't have a coach or a corner, not that I was aware of.
Right.
We never spoke to anybody. We spoke to the kids. We talked to the commission. Started to leave after the weigh-ins just to get called back for medicals, you know, and that was kind of our experience on the weigh-in.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, to sit there and say you're representing MMA Masters, like, is pretty big. That's not like a small title to have, like, by your name.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, I mean, because that's pretty nutty to begin with. And like I said, I've been in that situation, like cornering a fighter where the person came in 10 pounds overweight, and the promoters, they're just kind of like, they usually end up just trying to kiss your ass, be like, hey, you know, like, we really can't afford to lose another fight. Like, would you mind taking it at a catch weight, whatever? But like the fact that not even the promoter came up to you to talk to you about it?
Not at all. The promoter didn't talk to us. The matchmaker didn't talk to us about it. The young lady that was checking people in didn't talk to us about it. You know, I thought it was hilarious. I felt like it might have been, you know, I mean, in person, I'm not the scariest person, but I'm fairly intimidating. And the fact that, you know, I take initiative and I was in the situation because I didn't shy away from confrontation at all. You know, I kind of felt like I had to tell the official what to do and how to make it the fight, you know, just for it not to happen that way anyway. And after that, I felt like they were just like, oh, they're going to take the fight, so we don't have to say anything to them.
Okay.
That's the disappointing fact is just like, all right, well, now that your medical's done, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
So then even after the weigh-ins and everything's done, nobody approached you guys anything to discuss about the catch weight or anything like that?
We didn't hear from anybody related to the promotion until the next morning. I had a lady by the name of Kate shoot me a text and say, hey, is everything good to go for you guys and your fighter today? That was it. And I said, yep, we'll be at the venue. Jack is ready to fight. You know, that's the only reason why, you know, here in Colorado, I scratch that fight all day, every day. The promotion and the commission will scratch that fight all day, every day. But after seeing this kid show up, seeing, you know, he just didn't even have the look in his eye. I told Jack, I said, hey, I'm not going to yank this out from underneath you if you want the fight. So he said, Coach, I absolutely want this. I'm pissed off. I want to fuck this kid up. You know, let's fight. And I said, all right, you know, I'm in your corner. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way you can really do that. I mean, so here's my question, and granted, it's, I guess in the end, it's really none of my business, but did Jack pay for his own flight, or did they pay for the flight for him to come out?
Jack paid for his own flight. He paid out of pocket for his own flight. After we discussed this, once he joined my team, I wasn't going to leave him hanging, so, you know, I flew myself, two other coaches out there, and the fighter, who was supposed to also play. So, I mean, I came out of pocket for about $1,500 to fly out there. Jack spent about $300 of his own money. You know, it just for 5 of us to be there, only because tickets were already purchased when we found out 2 days before the event that the title fight was off, and my other fighter wasn't fighting.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally, that's a dick move. At the end of the day, that's a dick move, because you guys aren't going to say no. You spent what, $1,500? He spent $300. Like, you're not going to sit there and say no when you already have that much money invested. You're going to say, like, fuck it, it's experience that I need to get anyway. I'm here. Like, I'm not going to go home after having cut weight, done all the training. Like, your coach is here. There's no fighter that's going to say no.
No, absolutely, and that's kind of where Jack is at. He was in a hard spot for a young amateur, because his first fight, I guess, the opponent missed weight by about 2 pounds. He came in at 154 pounds. No big deal. He's young. He's an independent fighter at that time. Now, in the promotion, the kicker is they even try to take credit for hooking Jack up with me, just because they've messaged me to say, hey, there's this young independent fighter out there in Denver. Maybe, he'd be a good asset. Well, he is a pretty good asset, so thank you guys for that. But the shitty thing is they're crapping all over their fighters, man. I mean, Jack could have went out there independent this time, fighting a kid 16.2 pounds over. His head would have been all fucked up. He wouldn't have been ready to fight. He would have been like, what do I do? I'm not going to fight this guy. Yeah, but I mean, there's so many other factors you got to take into consideration too. Like, Jack's probably super dehydrated because he's cutting weight to hit 155. The other guy's 16 pounds over. He's not worrying about being dehydrated. Even if he cut, let's say, 10 pounds or whatever, that's super easy to make up in that 24 hours compared to Jack, who's probably going to have to try and recover like a good 15, 20. And so you're already risking severe brain damage from the dehydration alone. And you're already somewhat depleted compared to someone who's regaining back, let's say, 90% compared to Jack 75% because he went the extra mile to cut the weight. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's a sketchy move. I mean, I've seen it. It's just really a promoter trying to cover their ass to make sure that they have enough fights, because then it becomes a whole issue. But I mean, man, that's a huge risk that you guys had to take, considering it's an amateur show. Like, you shouldn't be putting your amateur fighters to that. You shouldn't put anybody into that kind of situation, but let alone like your amateurs. You got to take care of them. Yeah, absolutely. You really shouldn't. And I mean, it's like, even as a coach, I'll put myself out there to say, you know what, I probably should have still scratched the fight, but I wasn't going to take away the opportunity and the experience from that. Yeah. I mean, it put me in a hard spot as a coach, because, like I said, here in Colorado, I scratched that all day long and said, no, we want the kid suspended. We want his gym, talk to, from the commission, saying, guys, you got to do better. We expect better. At the end of the day, and whenever we start talking about fight night in a few minutes, it all comes down to fighter safety. Yeah. You were talking about being depleted, dehydrated, potential, not only physical damage, why cutting weight like that, because there's always that possibility. Yeah. But you can risk, a heart failure, you can risk, brain damage, like you just said. The thing is, we do got great weight cutting methods, but at the same time, it makes me scared for my own fighter. By saying, man, we're putting you at risk by putting you in there with a guy that's easily 20 pounds heavier than me. Yeah. And I mean, it just, the pros and cons of it from a coach's standpoint is you can see whenever somebody tried to do something such as cut weight, and you can see whenever they just didn't give a shit. Whatever was happening in their life. What really threw me for a loop is the kid didn't try to cut weight at all. The promotion didn't give a shit about the weight difference, the end difference. And there was nobody to speak up for that kid, which, who knows what's going on in his life. He should have had a coach or corner or somebody there, especially from such a prestigious gym out there in Southern Florida. Yeah. Yeah, and that's weird. Like, that's something that, like, I can't even say anything, because that part I don't know any of the details on. So I don't know where the kid came from, like, what's going on, like, with his coaches, like MMA masters, whatever. Like, I'm sure I'll run into him in the next whatever couple of weeks, just from like the work that I do down here, enough that I can sit there and be like, hey, what happened with this guy, where I can find out for myself. But even then, at the end of the day, it comes down to the promotion. But it also puts you in a bad spot, like we said, because it's like, Jack is a grown man for sure, but he still looks at you as the coach, like, hey, coach, what do we do? And it's like, you got to throw it back on him. It's like, what do you want to do? Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. So, all right. So now we know that situation with the weight cut. So now we get to the next day, fight night. Lead me, or just kind of guide me through. So what happened on fight night?
Yeah, on fight night, I mean, this was really what blew my mind. I mean, the weigh-in blew my mind from the weight indifference, between the two, and the officials seemingly not knowing how to handle it, to move forward. The promotion not speaking up, not saying anything. Nobody coming forward to talk to say, at least offer an apology, say, hey guys, let's fight. If you want to fight, awesome. If not, like you said, hey, let us help you out with your ticket or something. On the actual fight day, we arrive on time. We got to be there at 4 p.m. Fights are set to start at 6 p.m. We sit in a room, around the cage for over an hour again. It seems like they're backtracked on the time by at least an hour no matter what they do. But we sit in this big room, all fighters, all coaches, everybody around where the cage is. For an hour, they won't show us where the dressing room is. They won't give us any kind of hint about where we get set up, coaches, where they put their bags, so they have a stiff up. And then finally they say, all right, the official talks to everybody, says, we're going to lead you back to the dressing room. And they lead us back there. We're walking through a warehouse. I shit you not, probably a quarter of a mile walk. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
You got something, Madison Square Garden, on a short walk. It is what it is. But we walk back there, between a bunch of moving boxes, seemed like they were loaded with furniture. They put us in this corner next to the skating rink. It's at Extreme Action Park. With this open space where the music's blaring, nobody can hear each other even talk. If me and you sitting 3 feet apart, we got to talk in our outside voice in order to hear each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, all this was just kind of insane to me. I'm like, wow, this is definitely weird. Then we start seeing screws on the ground where they got us in the dressing room, like 3-inch screws.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a drywall screw that got knocked out. It was a 3-inch screw. We see ladders, that aren't even stood up against the wall, but leaned over boxes. They've got the dressing room separated by curtains, no mats on the ground for fighters to warm up on, which I guess, in today's modern MMA, I guess that still happens sometimes where promotions don't provide that. I haven't seen it in 17 years, because it's dangerous for a fighter to warm up on the ground. You're warming up on concrete. You're going to fuck your body up, potentially smack your head, anything like that. But the real kicker to me was the industrial scissor lift that was on our side of the dressing room.
Yeah.
2 big industrial scissor lifts, where a fighter can't even warm up on his feet. If you're dancing around, trying to get a shakeout with your coaches, you take 3 or 4 steps back the wrong direction, man, the fight's already scratched.
Yeah. I say, like, for everybody that's listening, I have very extensive knowledge of that venue. I've done a lot of work in there. I've, that's actually the place where HK360, where Henry Hooft had the former Black Zillions team. That's like where Henry Hooft moved his team. And I'd go there, God knows how many times a week, to go photograph. P90X or P90X, PXE has their gym right there. Like I know that place inside and out more than the janitor. So I know exactly the location, what it looks like. So from doing shows, I've done Titan FC. When I used to work with Titan FC, I've done shows in there. So I know exactly how good it can look and how bad it can look. I never had that issue with Titan FC. There was never any of that issue. Lex always made sure the fighters had mats. There was, even though it was just curtains, there'd be curtains that'd be separating them, but there was never anything in the way. The only thing you would ever have to worry about is production cables that went from the back towards the cage, and that was always taped down. That was always safety. So the fact that they would even allow that is insane. That's insane that they would think that's okay to have for fighters to have out there. So now, here's the thing. So I'm going to start putting everything up here on the video for those that are watching on YouTube. You guys took some photos and videos showing that you had to go and take the moving mats, which are just blankets. You went and you just had to go find them to lay them down on the floor, and that was your practice mat.
Well, feeling like we were already walking into just a failed situation, I kind of spotted them on the walk-in.
Right.
So I told 2 of my guys, Coach Allen Washington and the other fighter who was set to compete, Andrew Hathaway, I told them, hey, grab a handful of this. And they did, and we walked to the back, and I just had a feeling, and no mats, and I felt like it was already, just kind of set up, and not with fighter safety and being the first thing that should be in their mind. Take care of the fighters. So I mean, it just, it's kind of the intuition that came with fruition. It was true. We get back there, we had to find those. They actually rolled the cart that had moving blankets off away to where other fighters couldn't get anymore. Which is a super fucking thing.
Yeah.
mean, we had the ability to snag 4 or 5 of them before, they rolled the card away and didn't allow anybody else to get any. So yeah, I mean, that was our match. That's what we had.
Wow.
Stack them on top of each other, give Jack a 3/4 of an inch off the concrete.
So, all right. So let's take a step back. When you walked in, did you check in with anybody, or you just kind of had to find your own way?
No, we walked in and we checked in with the same person that was checking us in at weigh-in. The same lady.
So did she say practice area is that way, and that was it?
No, actually, we waited on the official to show up and tell all of us, hey guys, we're going to walk you around to the practice area, the warm-up area. And whenever they did, just on the walk, seeing those in the warehouse, seeing the moving blankets, I told my guys, let's snag some of those. We might need them back there.
Right.
And the moment they walked us around by the skating ring on the back side of the warehouse, no mats, no nothing, so I was happy that we grabbed it.
So what did you say to the official?
I lost my shit, really. I lost my shit. And I started looking at anybody that had an official shirt on or had a promotion shirt on that said Rize FC on it or anything like that, and just started questioning. I'm like, guys, where's the mats at? I said, you don't got mats for fighters? I said, this is dangerous right here. This is a safety concern, a safety protocol. It should be protocol for you to have these back here. I went and tracked down the same lady that checked us in. I asked her about it. She said, oh, yeah, let me see. And she seemed confused that I even asked her.
Yeah.
I believe this was maybe the first time she was in the position she was.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she said anyway. I'm not sure, but it was just, she's like, let me see if we can find some. The only thing they eventually brought back was probably about a 1/4 inch thin foam piece that looked like it was something shoved between furniture.
That like puzzle mat stuff?
Not even puzzle mat stuff. This was one solid piece. It looked like it was, shoved between an impact point of furniture. It wasn't even puzzle mats, man. It was insane. It was probably 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4, about 3 feet wide and about 6 feet long. That's what they brought back for 2 dressing rooms.
How many pieces did they bring? Just one?
Just one. That was it.
Shut the... Oh, wow.
Seriously. That was it. And, we had... I forgot the gentleman's name that was wrapping hands for them. He seemed like he knew his stuff, as far as wrapping hands.
Bald guy with tattoos?
Fuck, he had a hat on. I don't know.
It's probably my boy Brendan. So yeah, like there's only usually 2 guys that do like rapping down here, maybe another one, and it's usually Brendan or Ben, I think. So most likely I know the guys.
Yeah. Well, whichever guy was back there, he seemed like the only person that knew what the hell he was there for. Everybody else seemed like they had direction. Nobody knew who was signing off on raps, taking care of anything. I actually asked him, hey, can I just get 2 tapes of gauze and a roll of tape, and I'll wrap Jack. I'll take care of my guy myself.
Yeah.
And he was pretty busy trying to wrap up people, So but the crazy thing was, this is why I even brought him up, is his table to wrap the fighters is right in the middle of our dressing room, which was 5 feet away from the industrial scissor lift, which limited more space for fighters to be able to stretch, warm out, get loose, try not to be, in danger before they actually got in the cage. And then fighters should do 2 things. They should train and they should fight.
Yeah.
And all the other bullshit should be taken care of by coaches' corners, medical professionals, the promotion, everything else. They shouldn't go to the back of a dressing room or a warm-up area or risk it. Man, if I roll, if I step, or if I do anything, I'm going to hurt myself back here before I ever get in the cage. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, like I've seen a lot of times on the small promotions where they're, it's always blown my mind. Down here, there's one of those country bars called Renegades, and they would do fights there, and the warm up area and the wrapping area was like a corner booth that they just took the table out of. So stuff like that, and I've seen it, which is, I get it when it's a smaller promotion that some of that stuff comes in, but if you're taking a place like Extreme Action Park, that's not cheap, man. Extreme Action Park isn't a cheap spot to sit there and do a show at. It costs some money to sit there and rent that out. So if you got that kind of money, you got money for puzzle mats and a spot for the people to train. Because it's a giant warehouse. So for people that don't know, that entire building used to be what's called a Mars Music. It was a giant music center. I knew that place inside and out also because I used to go take guitar lessons there. I know that spot. There's tons of room out there. So unless someone got super cheap and they only wanted to have that little spot, or they just did not give an absolute crap about the fighters, there's no reason why you don't have enough space, because there's the roller skating rink, there's a car like showroom there, they have escape rooms there, they have the basketball courts, they have the whole entire arcade, they have a go-kart place, they have I guess like a Ninja Warrior kind of setup, like rope course, like on the roof. There's plenty of space. There's no reason why guys are sitting there and training, or warming up rather, next to the scissor lift on top of screws. And for people that don't know, obviously if you can't see it through the videos, the floor is concrete. It's slick paved concrete. So the slightest drop of water, you're slipping. You're 100% slipping. There's nothing that you can do about it. You're gonna slip and you're gonna hurt yourself. Especially if you're sitting there and doing it on top of moving blankets, those are just gonna slip too, and there's no cushion. So like, it makes no sense. So you got no help from that whatsoever.
No, we got no help. I mean, they brought that one little thin piece of foam. I don't know where they got it from. Took the moving blankets away from us, trying to pad the area more. That was it. That was the best of it. You know, I mean, it was just insane. It was no other way to say it. You know, I haven't experienced anything like that in a long time. I mean, the worst I've ever actually had was, you know, in 2002 or 2003, I was warming up in a dressing room with my opponent. You know, and one little room for everybody, and we went out and fought on 1 inch thick mat with the people sitting around us.
Yeah.
There's no room, no cage, nothing. I mean, that was probably a little crazy. That's, you know, been a few moons. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, even if you go to a jiu-jitsu tournament, they're going to have like a little practice mat area. So there's no reason why someone that can sit there and afford to have a cage set up and rent out Extreme Action Park is not going to be able to get you guys like practice mats. It's just stupid to me. That's just, and again, that's one of the big issues. Like, we do have that issue here in South Florida. There's a lot of scummy promoters. There's a lot of really cheap people or guys that don't have the money to really invest, but they're going to just take advantage that we have so many hungry fighters. They're like, oh, well, they'll fight anyway if you guys are really about that life. And that's the thing that I always think is funny. People use the stupid excuse, like, if you really want to be a fighter, you're going to have to go through it. It's like, man, this isn't, 1998. We're not sitting there doing like UFC 1. This isn't something, we're not fighting backstreet. You want to look like a professional promotion. Listen, I'll tell you, there's a promotion here that I have ripped apart before because they rented out the exhibition center that we have in Palm Beach. It's huge. They have like just giant like expos and stuff in there. They rented it out, had a big show. It was so empty that they were playing fake crowd noises like on the overhead. So it's like, when you hear that, it's like, oh, this is the show that we're at. This is the show that we're at. You, I forget what it was called. I want to say it was like Underground, something like that, Underground FC or something.
Well, you know, from my understanding, people that watched the live stream said, "Oh, well, it looked pretty good," and that seemed to be the basis of their concern. How do we look on TV? How do we look on a live stream? You know, the fights were postponed for nearly an hour and a half. Because the live stream wasn't working. They had to figure it out first. I mean, it just seemed like there was no give a shit about the fighters.
Yeah. Did anybody tell you guys about the shooting incident at the last, or I guess it wasn't the last Rize, but at the Rize FC, the shooting incident?
I heard about it prior to us going out there, actually.
Yeah.
That's what kind of made me cautious. That's why when they started to walk us back into a moving warehouse and I saw moving blankets, I'm like, we should probably grab it.
Right.
And, I mean, I had somebody actually reach out to me the moment they sent me post that, hey, I'm going out to Florida. You know, one of my new fighters is fighting out there. And then when they see me tag the promotion, they're like, man, watch out. You know, when people are shooting at the face.
That's when you're running that borderline between like fight coach to like the old Marine kicking in. It's like, we're going to need those resources, guys.
Yeah, man. That's when you know your entrance and exit points, your strategy. You know, the good thing is my assistant coach, Alan Washington, he's an old vet also. You know, Jack himself is a vet. He's an Air Force vet. You know, I don't give him too much of a hard time.
We can't all be winners, Jack. It's all right.
You know, I mean, you know, but hey, he destroyed his opponent, you know, so we're happy about that.
Gotcha. So Man, that part's crazy. And like I said, I'm going to play the videos. I'll have the videos playing on and off so we can see it. So they call you guys in. It's time to go start fighting. Like, walk us through like the rest of the night.
So, I mean, like I said, again, the fights were postponed for an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes or more before they finally got the stream up and decided to let the first fight take place. Just the difference, to give you clarity about Colorado Commission, is the Colorado Commission, if they tell you, hey, your start time is this, and you agree this is our start time, that's your start time. It doesn't matter about your team. It doesn't matter about whose asses are in the seats. It doesn't matter. What matters is, you signed an agreement that said this, and you're going to follow this. That's the difference, and what I've been kind of spoiled by now, I guess, for the last 12 years out here. But the rest of the night, they finally start getting fighters going. We're warming up Jack. I wrap his hands. We get him wrapped. It doesn't seem like anybody, there's confusion in the background about or in the back room, the warm-up room, where who's signing on the gloves or the hand wrap. Nobody's really inspecting and checking. I mean, I could have been loading him with quarters in his hands. Nobody's inspecting shit. They're just kind of looking at it and said, oh, that looks like a good wrap, and then signing a signature on it. That's it. I get the guy's name. I think it was Tony or something like that, I believe. My understanding was he was part of with the officials. I'm not sure, but he disappeared multiple times on us, where I had to ask a volunteer at one point, hey, who's putting the red tape on Jack's glove so that we know that they're there?
So nobody was sitting there overseeing the wrapping?
Oh, no. I mean, actually, this same guy that signed off on Jack's gloves, he actually told Jack, he kind of chuckled about it and walked away. He said, the truth is we just don't have enough people, so somebody could be putting quarters in their gloves, and hopefully the ref catches it.
You shut up. He did not say that. Wow.
He's dead serious. He said that to us. And we're just like, wow, because we're over here watching his opponent, Oscar Perez, not have hand wraps on. 4 fights in. We're supposed to be the 5th fight. That changed on the card, and we weren't told, to the 7th fight. Then it changed again to the 8th fight. So it's like they were trying to give this kid time to get his hands wrapped. Hands weren't wrapped, I mean, it was just insane. I don't know if he tried to get his hands himself, but it looked like nothing but just, knuckles with the hand wraps around. I thought maybe, hey, I can wrap Jack's hands for a bare knuckle fight. I know how.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but, eventually he got with the guy that was wrapping hands and got his hands wrapped. Finally.
Right.
I mean, after hearing a comment like that, hey, we don't have enough people, somebody could lace their gloves or whatever. Hopefully the ref catches it. We're like, man, wow. We're not going to be back here already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the crazy part. I mean, and that happens, and I've seen that. Like I said, I have been there, covered fights from here to California, like New York. Like, I've seen every single commission that you could possibly think of, and like, I mean, I know some of the ones that work in Florida. For the most part, they're all pretty good, but I know a couple that I'm like, man, you should not be here. Like, this is not a job for you. I don't know why you're here. And some of the older guys are like, I'll be very honest, some of the older guys are just egotistical, like douchebags, and like they don't care. They'll be completely off on their calls, but they would rather kick a fighter out, like suspend, do whatever, than admit that they did something wrong. So, that's what I've been experiencing all week. For anybody that has actually contacted me from a promotion, it's ego, man. It's arrogance. It's, won't you say something nice about me? The fuck am I going to say nice, man? I mean, my fighter's opponent missed weight by 16.2 pounds. That doesn't lead me to believe that there's very much experience with the matchmaking side of things. You're not in your game. You're not doing your due diligence to safeguard these fighters. I actually received a phone call from the promoter. Finally, because of all the ruckus that I'm making of this. Just hey, man, I just want to hear your from your words. I'm open to criticism and constructive criticism, and we're just trying to get better every step. And we had a conversation. I expressed my concerns to him, just to finally ask him, and he said, well, we're a newer promotion, and I said, how many shows have you had? And he said, this is our 15th show. Yeah. So in 15 fucking shows, you've never had a coach or a fighter say, hey, man, where's the mats? Hey, we got to warm up on screws. Nothing. There was, no ice was provided. I mean, nothing. Now, that's petty shit. Yeah.
We can bring our own because we actually did bring our own ice. We brought everything of our own, minus taping guns. That's usually, given to you out here in Colorado. And because not everybody everywhere is going to let you use your own taping gun.
Yeah.
So we got that from the tape guy, but outside of that, I mean, it just didn't seem like anything was in place, but they try to do their best thing to clean it up and make it look good on the live stream.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's, and I say this to fighters all the time. I mean, you have to come prepared to cover your own ass. That's all it is. Whether it's, you need to have the tapes, the scissors, the wraps, everything. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been there to cover fights and to help out, and the fighters don't even have like their own fight shorts. Like, they're waiting for somebody else.
You're talking about fight shorts, so even general equipment that fighters don't have.
Yeah.
In the back, we were talking about signing off on the hand wrap.
Yeah.
There was nobody to issue the gloves.
Yeah.
There was nobody to issue the shin guards for the amateurs. They were just all in a big bin for people to go pick and choose what they wanted.
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, such a disorganization. I haven't seen that shit in a long time. This sport is still brand new. We've been here since the early 90s. It's 30 fucking years old. And in 20 years, we've grown a lot to become modern MMA.
Yeah.
But in the 2000s, there still wasn't a lot of sanctioned body of commission and authority. So that's grown. But in 17 years, I've never seen such a disorganization. Officials that just absolutely had no idea what the fuck was happening or what was going on. Volunteer base that had no idea what their job was. It just seemed like, hey, fighters are here, okay, do your thing, and we'll call you when it's time to fight.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And like I said, I've worked with so many amateur like promotions and stuff like that, and the level is definitely, it's one of those things where at one point or another there needs to be some serious legal repercussions when you're putting people in that much danger just so you can make a buck and look good on stream. Because the problem is, something like this, like what was going on, the conversations that everybody was having online, a week from now, no one's going to care anymore. It's going to be like because it's not their world, so they're not worried about it. And promotions that run this haphazardly are going to sit there and just be like, whatever. No one's going to remember. That's why I said people don't even realize anymore that Rize is the one where everyone, like where the guy pulled out a gun and started shooting. And there's videos where they show that the venue and I don't know if it was someone from the promotion or whatever, literally let the guy that shot off the gun just go. Not to hold them off for the cops to show up. They just let them go, and their covering is, oh, well, we're working with officials or whatever. Like, no, man, you're like, you don't let people do that. I've never seen a promotion where like they don't at least check bags of people coming in. The only people that don't get their bags checked is usually the fighters, and you can just walk right in. That wasn't a fighter. That was like a spectator. So even then, like, there's just so many gaps on so many levels that need to be just needs to be covered, especially down here, because it's so easy to get scammed down here. I mean, there's been so many promotions where the fight was going to go and it got scrapped. There's been so many, like, it's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So Jack wins the fight. Yep. You guys get up there. What happens after? Like, what was like? Was there like any more discussions? Did the promoters talk to you anymore? Like, what's been like the backlash from everything?
Absolutely not. I mean, Jack wins this fight. We hung around for a little bit. We were going to dip out the moment Jack was done. We wanted to go celebrate, and have some fun. But I mean, it was such a shit show where, Jack dislocated his shoulder in the fight. It just pulled out. He's healthy, he's good. But I mean, it pulled out, so it took the medical staff about an hour to get it back in. But that was a plus. They were doing their job. They were trying to take care of him. It just kept slipping back out, and the process of resetting it. But unfortunately, it just took a little while. So, watching the rest of the shit show, me, Coach Allen, we're sitting there helping out other pros in the back. They brought in pros for their tournament sudden death. There was pros that didn't have anybody helping them with anything. I mean, that didn't have a coach, didn't have a corner, flew in. Didn't have nobody to wrap their hands. So, I mean, that's whenever I met some of the Florida Boxing Commission, because I wrapped one of the fighters' hands up. I can't remember his name. The kid's name was Austin or Ashton or something like that. And I actually coached him and cornered him. He flew out with a couple of friends that, just didn't know what they were doing because we didn't have coaches come with them. So, we still helped out. In the process of this, Coach Allen's out in the crowd. we don't know the rules about, Florida officials down there, who's part of the boxing commission, these different amateur organizations that are in charge of the amateurs. We don't know what the case is. But Alan looks over because our job's done for the night. He's changed out of his fight shirt, even though he don't have to. And, he decides to get himself a drink. It's over in the same official that ran the weigh-ins, walked us to the warm-up room in the back, and was checking fighters. Actually, he's the same official that checked Jack, before he walked into the cage. Make sure he was greased correctly, mouthpiece, he's got his groin protection. Official sitting there with an official shirt on, just drinking.
No.
We were kind of blown away by that. Now, if your job's done for the night, why not just change out your official shirt that says Florida official or boxing commission?
Right.
So, we don't know. I actually went back and forth on social media with this official's wife. The funny thing is, I didn't tag him. I didn't tag the promotion. I didn't tag the matchmaker. I didn't tag the promoter. I didn't tag anybody. I said our experience, but I've got just enough of a following for everybody to know where the fuck I was at.
Yeah.
So whenever I mentioned this official drinking, his wife started blowing up my social stuff. And I said, look, I never even tagged your guy.
Yeah.
I said, but you gave it away because you're blowing up my shit. People can put a last name together.
Yeah.
So, Coach Allen calls it a dry snitch. She flat out dry snitched.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is she wants to vouch for him. Oh, he was off the clock. Hey, that's fine and dandy. Pull your fucking official shit off.
Yeah.
Perception, man. They say that, seeing is believing, but I tell people perception is deception. You never know.
Yeah. That's something that's easily like verified. If he sat there and he did any other fights the rest of the night, you can sit there and say, well, he's right there on stream. And we saw him drinking at whatever time it was. So that's one of those things, like, I can't even sit there and say it, but it's, man, if that's what saw, then I don't know otherwise. I don't know if the official was going to referee again or not, but if he's drinking, yeah, he's definitely not supposed to.
The thing is, I believe there's only 4, or I don't even think 4. Maybe 3 or 4 pro fights on the card. The rest were amateur. Mm-hmm. Jack was set to be the 5th. It turned into the 8th fight. And I know at the 8th fight, he's the official checking Jack before he walked into the cage. I know probably about 20, 30 minutes after that, when Jack was waiting to get his shoulder fixed, he had to go to the bathroom. He's seen the same official drinking, witnessed it himself. This is 20 or 30 minutes later on a slow working promotion. So I don't believe he was exactly off the clock. I believe they were trying to backpedal to cover his ass.
Right.
So, there's just no way of knowing. Hell, the official fight card's not even posted online. We were talking about a catch weight at the weigh-ins. It became a catch weight, I guess, because that's how they filed it with the commission. It's how they filed it through Tapology. They didn't even file the official card. I'm just sure Jack probably reached out to say, hey, guys, you're going to post my information.
Yeah.
So then what's online is a 175-pound fight. So it was just, everything is fucking crazy. And seeing the official drinking there towards the end of it, it's like, man, wow, this is at this point not really surprising.
Yeah, I don't know what the rule is for Florida officials, whether or not it's always my understanding, if you're on the job, if you're there representing, you're not allowed to drink. I don't know what company would let you sit there unless you're working for Sam Adams. You're not going to be allowed to drink while you're working. So that to me just sounds like sketchy to begin with. That's something I have to do the research on and see what the deal is. That's an easy couple of phone calls for me. But then the fact that they're not even registering their fights, it's kind of whatever. That shows to me that if they're not posting up the information, that's not a real organization, because now
they're just trying to cover something. And back to the official, I don't know the rules out there either. I wouldn't have even known his name or tagged his name if his wife wouldn't have commented on my social media stuff, trying to tell me, oh, this is slander, and I had to inform her that slander is when you put a name towards an accusation. And I never did. And the thing is maybe he was off the pod, maybe he wasn't, but they didn't promote themselves by actually putting good information out there. All they get is shit about, at the end of the day, is the promoter, hey, let's try to get fans in the stands. I'm not going to sit here and talk about his fan base. It really wasn't all that great. I'm sure they want everybody to believe there was thousands of people there, much like the promotion you said, playing the crowd noise in the background. There was an amount of people there for such a striking type of, promotion, but it was insane for us. It left a bad taste in my mouth. Until I know and it's proven that there is any type of proof that they've gotten better and they're putting fighter safety first, we'll never be a part of it again.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because after I reached out to you to talk about everything, I was talking to somebody else and they're telling me like, oh yeah, I would never fight for them ever again. Like that somebody else that's fought for them, like I will never fight for them ever again. So I don't know that many organizations where fighters are just repeatedly just saying, nope, not doing that again, not doing that again. And I mean, there's a lot of, like I said, crappy promotions. Like, and people are just like, nope, not doing that. Like that's when you start telling like yourself, like, oh, like we see like how they're handling everything. And I mean, I've seen some of the people that are running an organization like on Rize, and I'm not going to like mention any names, but I know that there's a couple of people on there that have nothing to do, have never been to any, like done any kind of fight where they're putting in their money. They're just trying to look like they're like, oh yeah, well I put fights on too. Like, no.
And that's why I've only mentioned one name throughout this whole podcast, Kate. And that's because I do feel bad for that young lady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like she's put in a position to not really know anything about what she should be doing, but seemed like she was trying to help.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'll give her that credit, but there's really nobody else on the promotion that I can speak too highly of that. And one of the volunteers in the back, that's it. Everybody else seemed like, you know, ego was their thing. They wanted to show, hey, I'm this great person. You know, up to the stream, the commentating. I mean, just everything. It was amateur, and that's even amateur at best. And that's because we thought it was more silly than anything. You know, it's outside of all the fuck ups to the fighter safety. You know, everything.
Well, I mean, I've even seen the text messages where I think it was the matchmaker calling the fighters like stupid and like basically setting them up to fail. I think it was like another catch weight issue and stuff like that. So that's something that really needs to be like investigated on, because if you have like your own like matchmakers setting up fighters to get injured like that or possibly get injured, that's sketchy. That's where you got to draw the line. That's where like it's the downside of which I'm sure happens all over the place, but the downside down here is that there's a lot of schools that try and draw the line. They kind of do that old school like kung fu movie, like, no, they're our enemy, you can't talk to them. It's like when it comes to like the fight promotion stuff, man, everybody's kind of has to like band together and make sure that whether we're from opposing schools, like our students are separated, they still need to be taken care of, whether it's your guys or my guys.
Well, and that's why I mentioned his opponent not having hand wraps, not having a coach or corner there. I don't know what gym he belonged to. I know what gym they announced about it.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, whenever I'm there, my first thing is my fighter. My fighter's safety, my fighter's health. You know, and then it's, hey, what else is going on? You know, because we're always happy to help. We're always happy to lend a hand. We're always happy to, I mean, hell, you know, there's been past promotions that I dealt with that just weren't great, where I wrapped an opponent's hands because he didn't have anybody wrap his hands against one of my guys. Yeah. You know, and I mean, it's like, you know, even whenever Oscar didn't have somebody to wrap his hands, I nearly offered to, but I was so irritated with the fact he couldn't attempt to be professional and try to make weight that I was like, no, you know, he's on his own. Yeah. You know, at that point, you know, I mean, you know, you're mentioning a matchmaker's text messages and things like that. I mean, I'm going to backtrack to Williams just real fast and say the only thing that was said to us at Williams, whenever there's that discrepancy in the weight, was we did have somebody, and I can't remember who, walk up and say, well, you know, does he want a 155-pound kickboxing bout instead? So they tried to change the match type on us, you know, or offered us that.
Yeah.
And we just said, no, we were happy to take this fight. You know, we were pissed off the weight difference. We're happy to take this fight because this is what we prepared for. We already knew how we were going to go in, how we were going to fight, how we were going to win.
Yeah. As a coach, where would you draw the line? Like, because it sounded like there's so many things that happen. Like, where do you draw the line where, regardless of what Jack would have said, that you would have been like, no, this fight's not happening. You're not going to do it?
No, that's a great question, and it's a hard question because generally I draw the line with that type of weight, you know, mismatch. You know, it seems like somebody severely dropped the ball there. Either told that kid, hey, don't worry about weight too much, this kid will fight, or, you know, asked us to take the fight at the wrong bill. I probably draw the line, you know, if the kid shows up not looking clear-headed, on drugs, dope, drinking, anything like that. If the promotion is, I mean, it was such a, just a shit show. Best way to say it. I draw the line as far as ever competing for a promotion like that again, just based off of the littlest thing, of not even having max. That's putting my fighter at risk.
Yeah.
Putting fighters at risk of injuring themselves, trying to get ready to go put on a show for you as a promoter. I draw the line, the littlest things whenever I know it comes down to fighter safety and health. And that's because I was a fighter for a long time. Came out of retirement to box at 40, I was telling you about. And, I mean, if I feel like I'm ever put in a position to really risk my safety and health, man, I'll pull myself out of something. And I am that old hard-headed, hard-charging Marine, that just feels like I can run through anything.
Yeah.
But it's not the way you lead by example. You lead by example by putting your foot down, saying, you know what, enough is enough of this type of shit. I had people reach out to me, like I said, in advance before I went before to say, man, watch out for this promotion. And that's why we grabbed moving blankets. And like I said, again, I'm glad we did, just so we had something to provide for Jack and my time. But it's not a matter of, the particulars of, do you have mats? Did you provide ice? Do you got water? It's a matter of a promotion, a promoter, a matchmaker, an organization at all not looking at, a fighter's safety and saying, you know what, we got to more or less bubble wrap these guys until they get into the cage.
Yeah.
We got to take care of these guys and make sure that they're just in the best shape they possibly can be for what they agreed to. Whenever fighters and coaches agree to anything, and you've covered a lot of fights, you've cornered fighters, when fighters and coaches agree to anything, they do their best, generally, to try and honor what they agreed to. And we out here, my team, V10 Training, we absolutely will, because I hold a high standard. I expect the best from my guys, and we're never going to show up and be unprofessional like that. But I've never, like I said, in the last 17 years, dealt with such disorganization, such a risk towards fighter safety and health, such a disconcern about, who can get hurt, who can, whatever, officials drinking. I mean, it was crazy, and something like that I'll absolutely never entertain again. I spoke with the promoter. He gave me a phone call. He said, hey, man, you guys are welcome back 1,000 times over. I want to hear the constructive criticism myself. That's why I called you. Only for me to hear him say, yeah, we've done this 15 times. 15 fucking times.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. It's 15 times. How do you not get used to it? I used to be a co-owner of a promotion. The only promotion that ever put on an event at the Olympic Training Center. And, I was co-owner of that. I was the matchmaker of that. And at that point, whenever I took on those duties, I took on that responsibility. My number one priority is fighter safety.
Yeah.
Let's get where they need to be. Let's make sure they're in fair matchups, not completely lopsided matchups, which is another one. On there, a kid that was 8-0 against a kid that was 1-1. I mean, it was just, we'll never entertain that again. If I don't know a little bit more about a promotion, that's where I draw the line. If I don't know they can be professional and take care of their fighters, that's where I draw the line.
So then again, I guess to reword it, from your experience as a coach, doesn't have to be your student. What would you tell, someone who's 0-0 taking their first fight? Like, what would you tell them? Like, should they? Because I guess that's the hard part, really, for you, right? Do you go with the Marine mentality, like whatever, we'll take on anybody at any time, or do you sit there and tell the guy, listen, it's your first fight, you're gonna have to deal with some BS here and there, take the fight, or do you say no, you have to be super strict, it's got to be on weight, make sure all your ducks in a row, you have this, that, and the other? What do you tell these guys?
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's my fighter and he's 0-0, then I tell him, you train, we're gonna make sure you're ready to fight, and then I take care of the rest. It's not his job to be concerned with the bullshit. It's my job. If it's an independent fighter that's 0-0 and I encounter him in the back, warming up for anything like that, I'm going to offer the best advice I can about what to watch for, how to prepare. But, it's hard to offer anybody some information that you don't know about them. If they're a fighter, if they trained, if they prepped, if they did anything. The problem with, doing anything like that, it's like if I had an 0-0 fighter reach out to me and say, hey, for instance, Rize FC, reached out to me to see if I want to fight, and I really want to fight. Then I would tell them, the pros and cons of everything I've experienced, and there wasn't a lot of pros, and I'm going to say, watch your ass, watch yourself, talk to coaches or gyms in your area, have them look into it. Do your own diligence. If they ask you a fighter that's 1-0, 0-1, 0-0, do your own diligence, do your own homework. And that's because in this business, it's a cutthroat type of business. Unfortunately, combat sports, and everybody looks for record pad and sandbag with their fighters so that they can build them up. And that's something else I just don't believe in. Matchmakers do, progressive matchmaking, meaning, hey, I'm going to give you a fair fight. Styles make matchups. Let's put on a good show.
Yeah.
It's just, that's a great question, hard to answer. I would say if you're coming to me, Alexis, right now and said, man, I've never fought before, I'm excited to fight, can you offer any advice? And I'd say, well, I hope you train. I hope you put in the time. I hope you have some form of background in martial arts, because, 99% of fighters who get in there even say the first time have some type of background. And then I would say, take care of yourself. Watch out for yourself. If something feels wrong, don't be afraid to leave right then and there and say, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Well, that's good advice. It's one of those things it's very difficult being like hungry, like young and wanting to do this, especially if you want to do this for a living, let alone if you just want to test yourself, to sit there and say, let go of your ego and really think through it. Is it worth that risk on somebody? It's like, oh yeah, well, it's just the guy is like 4-1, but he hasn't fought in like a couple of years, kind of thing. Like there's so many different factors you have to consider, because like you said, a lot of promoters will even push the sandbaggers. It's like, oh, I'll give you a guy who's 0-0.
It's just a feeding system, and that's what pissed me off about the matchup that I called out with the matchmaker. Went back and forth with him on his lopsided match as an 8-0 guy against a 1-1, and he said, "Oh, but it's not all MMA. It's really only 3-0 or 4-0 or whatever he called it." And I said, "You still think that's a fair matchup?" And I said, "Look, you guys," and I sent him a screenshot of their own picture on the Rize FC, and I said, "You guys recognize this guy as your amateur fighter of the year. And on your poster, you put 6-0, four finishes, 3 decisions, all MMA. So how are you going to say this kid is not what he's claiming to be?"
Yeah.
You just told me he's 3-0, but you guys promoted this as, hey, 6-0. He's a badass kid. And you know what? Both of those kids in that fight, I'm not naming them, but they both got a high ceiling. They put on a pretty decent fight. It ended in the first round, unfortunately, by submission. But, they were gamers, So, honestly, I think my 135-pounder out here destroys both of them.
That's the coach. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not 100% biased on that. I've got some kids that train hard, and they follow my lead, man. So.
Yeah, but no, you're right, because like you said, there's guys that they'll push you. Oh, he's 0-0, but then he's 0-0 in MMA. He might be like 25-1 in kickboxing. They just not going to tell you his kickboxing record. I mean, that's what what's his face did. Holy crap! He fought for IKF. The guy had like 100 fights in IKF, but they were feeding him guys that were like 0-1. It's like, it's like, come on. Of course he's going to be your 10-year champion when you're giving him like all amateurs and stuff. Like that's an easy cakewalk.
Feeding him everybody that doesn't have any experience.
Yeah.
And that's why what I offered a moment ago is I would tell an 0-0 guy independent, say, man, do your own diligence.
Yeah.
Do your own homework, because it's not that hard if anybody is competitive. It's not that hard if anybody has competed before to find something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Facebook, social media, Instagram, anything like that. It doesn't even have to be Google. If you have the right avenues to go through, you can find information. And in this industry, this sport, you have to do that, and that's because you got shady matchmakers out there willing to put you in a lopsided fight just to pad their boy. You got bad promoters out there that are willing to promise you fucking rainbows, just to blow bullshit up your ass. And I mean, it's just people need somebody that's been down that road just to say, man, I'm not going to let that happen to you. Because Jack immediately afterwards, he's like, "Coach," and I said, "Jack, you're never fighting out here again. You're never fighting for this promotion." Is what it was. And he was just excited he got the win. 55 seconds, finished the guy, with a 3-4 fucking guillotine, in there. And I mean, it was impressive on his side with the dislocated shoulder, but that was the pros of us. We had a good medical people. We went out there, we made it like professionals, and we won the fight. That was the pros.
Yeah, that's all that matters, man. At the end of the day, you still came in and did your job regardless of the obstacles thrown at you. That's being a professional.
Absolutely.
Coach, I know you got to get going. You got your own stuff to do. I want to say thank you again for taking the time. If anybody wants to follow you on social media, what's the best way to do it?
They can find me on Instagram at Coach Earwood. You know, just like it sounds, Ear and Wood. Yeah. I got to tell people that, otherwise they think I say crazy other shit. Facebook, I got a Coach Vern Earwood. They can friend request me. I don't care. You know, they can stalk me. I don't give a shit. You know, my job as a coach is to make enemies. My fighter's job is to impress the fans and put on great fights. You know, I've got a coach's page on there that is just Coach Vern Earwood. You know, outside of that, I don't do much more than that. I don't do Twitter. I don't, do Snapchat. I don't do all this crazy shit.
You're not missing out on anything.
I feel like, I tried Snapchat one time. I was just to track down my fighters when they didn't show up for training. Then they all blocked me. So,
yeah.
But yeah, people are happy. I'm happy to have people follow me. At the end of the day, man, I show up every day so I can put my guys through the work that they need so they can go out there and put on a great fight. My job is to build champions and to take care of my guys. I've got some good female fighters, some good male fighters. And, I'm just extremely happy as a coach and blessed to be able to do what I do. But, it's my job to piss off the world whenever things aren't right so that they don't catch all the backlash. I don't give a shit.
Awesome. Well, guys, make sure you follow Coach Vern. I'll be posting the links up on the description of the video and in the podcast and everything. Coach, thank you again for taking it. I'll let you know if I end up going out to Colorado in a couple of months. For sure, I'll come in and get some training. And anytime, if you decide to come back to Florida, let me know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate being on your show. It was a great time. I'm glad I got to say my piece out there. Again, that's my job. Piss off the whole world.
Listen, this is the best place to do it. For once, it's not me doing it. So you always got an open door here. Anytime you want to come in, just hit me up.
Absolutely. I'm happy to take the heat off you, Lex. You have a good day.
Appreciate it. Take care, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, guys. Big thank you to Coach Earwood for coming onto the podcast and filling it in. I have a feeling that this is going to go and kind of ruffle some feathers, and as it should. This is not something that any fighter, whether it's pro or amateur, should ever have to deal with. And this is one of those things that, I've dealt with so many promoters, whether it's music or it's fighting. I have dealt with promoters from all over the place. And at one point or another, you guys as fighters and as coaches need to really kind of put your foot down, man. You can't sit there and let people take advantage of you, because at the end of the day, they might say, oh, well, we don't make a lot of money on this, but they're making money on it. And you can't afford to let somebody else use you so they can make money and tell you, oh, well, you'll get good experience. That's a BS argument to make. Everything you do, especially if you want to be a professional fighter, if you want to be a professional fighter, you got to remember that your body is your moneymaker. So you have to look at every possible contingency or angle of what could risk you making this your profession. If you want to be a professional fighter, it doesn't matter if it's jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter if it's MMA, if it's boxing, kickboxing, whatever it is. You have to put it in the effort. You have to put in the extra effort. And yes, there's going to be times where you have to, you're going to have to bite the bullet. Not every promotion is going to have mats and stuff like that. Do you want them to? Absolutely. But like I said, there's people that have, they have the smoke shows, like for kickboxing, where it's just kind of show up and, whoever shows up, shows up. It's, it's not 1985 anymore. We're not fighting in back rooms. You might sit there and go do fights at, places like Renegades or some backroom bar that just wants to have Tuesday night fights kind of thing. Yeah, it's going to happen. But you have to be aware of the situation that you're putting yourself in, I think the other angle you have to look at it too is you're an amateur, so you're nobody. Don't come in with an ego. Nobody wants to work with a bad time. It's not going to help your career if you really want to make a career out of it. But you also don't have to take like BS, because guess what? If this fight promotion is giving you crap, there's thousands of other ones that might be way better, that treat their amateurs properly, that treat their fighters, well, and take care of them. Not everybody does that. You're just another body to them, because if you don't fight, somebody else will. Taking a 16-pound difference, that's not right. That's not right. And like I said, I've had to corner a fighter that had to fight someone with a 10-pound difference. And the promoter promised me that the other fighter was going to meet that weight the next day, that they're going to be like that 10-pound difference. They're not going to go more than that. That wasn't the case. And it was too late. We had to take the fight. You know, my fighter didn't want to pass that up. She just didn't want to pass up that opportunity. She needed the money. It was all for $250. $250, and she put herself at risk. And guess what? It was supposed to be a kickboxing match. It ended up becoming almost like an MMA match, because all the girl kept doing was pinning her up against the fence and then throwing her to the ground or whatever. This girl never trained any grappling. She only did kickboxing and Muay Thai. So there was no, she lost the fight. She still made the 250, but she lost the fight because the referees didn't follow the agreed bout, rules of engagement, that it was supposed to be just a kickboxing match. The promoter allowed someone to be unprofessional, and the fighter didn't want to sit there and couldn't afford to not take that fight. She needed the $250. It happens. That stuff happens. But none of this changes until the fighters push for it, the coaches push for it, and the commission stops being lazy about it. That's my issue too. The commission's job should not just be making sure that the fighters are taken care of during the fight. Because at the end of the day, what it really should be is that it should be a standard procedure of, this is what you need to provide the fighters coming into the fight. This is what you need to provide the fighters for the fight. And this is what you need to provide for fighters post-fight. Whether it's the medical, the insurance, this, that, and the other. If you're going to push the fighters to go get medicals, they got to do this, that, and the other, all out of pocket, they got to get licensed, then it's up to the commission to take care of everything else. Otherwise, what's the point? There's no point in fighting for a fighters union. There's no point in fighting for, better promotions and stuff like that, if we allow commissioners to be lazy. Now, I don't know any of the facts about whether that official was actually drinking, what they were drinking, who it was. I don't know any of that. So I'm not making any accusations whatsoever. I'm going to be doing my own research on it for sure. But you have to take into consideration, what the issue is. You have to take into consideration every aspect of it. So if you're trying to be a professional fighter and you want to go through the amateur fighter, like I said, doesn't matter if it's jiu-jitsu, doesn't matter if it's MMA, boxing, whatever. You have to pay attention to these details. And then you have to say to yourself, is this really what I want to do? Because this is the stuff you're going to have to deal with. I can guarantee you, I can ask every single professional fighter that I know if they've had to deal with stuff like that, and every single one will say, yep, I've had to do those backroom brawls. I've had to do the ones where, you had to train, you had to warm up in the parking lot on gravel and stuff like that and slip, or in the parking garage. 100%, I can guarantee you that's the case. Doesn't mean it has to be like that in the future. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. I hope everyone has a great new year. This is the first episode of the year. I can't wait to show you all the stuff that I've been working on. Check out Sonder Marketing. That's my company. Everything that I got going on there. I'll be working with Pillow Fighting Championships this weekend. I'm looking forward to that. Possibly going back out to Triad Combat in February. Not sure yet, but either way, I appreciate you guys for all the support. Make sure you follow us on social media at Jiu-Jitsu Radio on Instagram and now on TikTok and the YouTube. So if you like the channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you guys. See you on the mats. That was dorky, but I'm keeping it on there. See you guys. What's up, everybody? Alex here, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting the podcast. And if this is your first time here and you'd like to support the podcast, hit the little notification bell below and the subscribe button. It's one click for you, but it's actually a big help to us to keep the podcast growing, which is all that we want to do, is keep on providing you with some amazing jiu-jitsu content, grappling content, and just keep you guys laughing and having fun. With that being said, this podcast is brought to you by all of our awesome sponsors. Check out 𝗀𝗀𝘂𝘆. Go to 𝗀𝗀𝘂𝘆.com and use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu Radio at checkout to get 20% off some of the best gear in Jiu-Jitsu. Whether you're looking for patches, hats, t-shirts, stickers, you name it, they got it, and you'll get it all at a great discount. So it doesn't matter if it's brand new or on sale, you will still get the full 20% discount at checkout when you use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu Radio. Also, don't forget that just because your jiu-jitsu stinks doesn't mean that you have to. Go to jujitsusoapco.com, use the promo code JJRadio at checkout, and you'll get 15% off all of their soaps, their entire line. It doesn't matter what you buy, your entire cart will get 15% off. Hygiene is number one, so don't forget to check out all the accessories, all the other stuff that they have for whether it's bath bombs or anything for your gi. They have some amazing products, and you'll get it at an awesome price when you use the promo code JJRadio at checkout. Finally, have you been watching all these pros compete and wonder, damn, where do they get all these custom patches put and heat pressed onto their gis? You can't find the right company, or maybe you thought you found a company and they ended up just leaving you hanging. Well, it doesn't happen with AJG Fight. Go to Instagram or Facebook, look up AJG Fight, and you will get the best prices, the best quality on customized heat transfer patches for your competition gi. Whether you want it on your gi, on your rash guard, your fight shorts, you name it, they can do it. Hit them up, let them know we sent you, you'll get taken care of. It's a small mom and pop run organization, so when you support them, you're supporting jiu-jitsu from the ground up. AJG Fight on Instagram and on Facebook. Now, with that being said, one last thing, please don't forget to check us out on Instagram, TikTok. Visit jujitsuradio.com to get all the latest stuff of everything that we're working on. Also, don't forget to check me out on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/𝗂𝗃𝗀𝘂 and join me for some amazing gaming. We go anything from Modern Warfare to Sea of Thieves to even some Mario, Kaizo Mario, for those of you that know. If you don't, check it out. I also go on there to do some fight breakdowns, some grappling breakdowns. People have been sending me their matches for us to break down live on the stream. So if you got those videos, send them my way. I'd love to stream it and check it out live on the air with you guys.